In the tunnel.
In the tunnel.
In the tunnel. You're listening to In the Tunnel.
Hello and welcome to In the Tunnel. My name is Jeremy.
And I'm Sean.
It is October 12th weekend. We're going to just give them the 12th, 13th, and 14th. And we are coming at you with more football, advanced rounds of the MLB playoffs, and we got more hockey talk because the NBA season hasn't started yet because preseason doesn't count for them. And none of their players are Tom Wilson, so they're not getting suspended for a long time. So until that happens, the NBA doesn't exist. We're canceling the NBA until they have an actual tip-off event. So let's get into it.
Yeah, so let's just start with the NFL, right? We're going into week 6?
We're in week 6 now.
Mm-hmm.
It's Thursday night, so there's actually a game on right now.
Giants are actually losing pretty handily to the Eagles right now. I think it's 21-6 at the time of us speaking.
We're gonna find out.
It is 21-6 at the half, or 24-6 with 30 seconds left in the second.
I'll tell you, man, this is why you invest in antenna TV. So that you don't have to power up the Fire TV stick and, get it up now. And watch, it's not even going to show that. Yeah, the channel didn't scan last time.
Of course.
Of course it didn't. So we're going back to the Fire Stick. Is doing live play-by-play over here. This is mayhem to start the show. Absolute mayhem. But I wouldn't have it any other way.
So, yeah, the Eagles are whooping the Giants pretty handily right now. I'm unfortunately not watching the game, even though I'm a Giants fan, so it just doesn't look good. Our season doesn't really look good anyway, so
24-6.
Yep.
Second quarter, 28 seconds left, 4th and 8. Oh, I got you. We're going to live stream this because that's what good hosts do.
Of course. Well, yeah.
Anyway, color rush Giants.
Let's just talk the rest of the league while we already know how this game is going.
What, do they always lose in their color rush jerseys? Or lack of color rush? They're wearing the whites with the plain block blue and red numbers.
Yeah.
Very, very different from their whites with just blue numbers.
Don't they usually wear red numbers?
Not on the whites. I don't think so. Or no, I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I think they've had several. I think they've had a couple versions.
Oh, I thought they were whites with red, but
probably. It's not like I'm from New Jersey or anything. But you are too. Shit, man. You're right. It's Reds. It's Reds. It's Reds. They wear the Cincinnati Reds jerseys.
Oh my god.
This is going to be the most random show we've ever done, and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh boy. So yeah, anyway, let's get into it. So now that we're in our 6th week, right? Let's get to predictions, as we said that we wouldn't do them for the first quarter of the season.
Yeah, we said that we were going to wait till at least week 4, and we sat here, lived up to our word, and then we thought about how well we did living up to our word that we gave ourselves an extra week to pat ourselves on the back. So we're here to predict division winners and just
give a reach Stanley Cup, God damn it, Super Bowl maybe.
Yes, the Stanley Cup of Super Bowls. And we're gonna give our Super Bowl prediction. Maybe throw in which teams we do or don't think will get a playoff bye, but I'm not going to stretch it that far yet.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean,
so
we're going to end up picking more teams than can have byes anyway. Or we're going to flip-flop that one. So maybe we wait on that. Maybe that's a Week 12 kind of thing. All right. So, why don't you run down your predictions first?
Yeah,
let's see what you got.
Start. AFC East, right? I think Patriots got the division and probably a first-round bye.
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs, I don't think are going to let go of their division at any point. I think they can get the second first-round bye for the AFC. Considering the other two divisions are a lot closer in terms of team performance.
Mm-hmm.
Because the AFC North is a crapshoot. Like, anybody, even the Browns, can win that damn division.
Is it a crapshoot, or is it just the division's that good?
It's more of the division is all performing, I guess.
Just not consistently.
Not consistently. So some days it's a crapshoot, and other days they're just that good.
They all look like a wagon, or they all look like a crapshoot. I see. Very up and down.
Yeah, all right, and then AFC South, though, like, I do think the Jaguars may end up taking their division.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that the Titans are going to compete for that long term.
Yeah, and I think the Jaguars are just more solid of a team for the long run.
Mm-hmm, more balanced.
Yeah.
They have despite Bortles being a quarterback, I mean, he's an average quarterback, but
yeah, he's not bad.
He's not, yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's an average quarterback, but like, they have the skill positions. Let's assume that Fournette or even Yeldon is the running back there as the season goes on. Say Fournette's out, Yeldon's still a pretty good backup. They got good receivers that, like,
their defense is really good.
Yeah, also. I'm saying they got weapons on both sides of the field.
Yeah. And, like, Bortles, I mean, he's not, like, the superstar that's going to, like, carry his team to the Super Bowl, but he's also not the guy that's going to lose it, like, completely for you.
Yeah, but we've learned over the years that you don't need an absolute elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl. You need more of a defense.
Right.
I mean, Joe Flacco and the Ravens won the Super Bowl. Flacco didn't exactly have the best game there.
No, not at all.
So...
Yeah, so you want to go through your AFC, and then maybe we can do, like, first-round predictions, maybe sleeper team kind of thing?
So, you know, it was all fun and dandy that the Dolphins go off to the start they did. You know, we all had a nice week or two where we thought maybe the Patriots are, like, a wild card team now. No. I mean, one game changed that whole season. It was when the Dolphins went to New England and got pumped out of there. Absolutely flat.
They got destroyed.
Yeah, they got stomped on it like every AFC East team does in Foxborough. So, the Patriots are taking... They'll probably, like, go 13-3 and get a first-round bye. And the AFC West, I think that the Chargers will make the playoffs.
Okay.
But at this point, the Chiefs being 5-0 and the Chargers being 3-2... We know that there's only 16 games in the season. So, unless the Chiefs have an absolutely catastrophic failure in the second half of the season, like they go into the bye week, come back, and they, lost a couple steps, and the Chargers just look perfect, the Chargers don't have the defense to catch up to them. So I think that the Chiefs get a bye and the Chargers get a wild card spot. The Chargers' offense looks amazing, but the thing is their defense, which looked all right last year,
I think it leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah. I mean, they have like a couple good linebackers and a good DB or two, but there's still holes there.
Oh, yeah.
Like they got that Casey Hayward dude who went from Green Bay to the Chargers and led the league in interceptions last year. Mm-hmm. They got a couple good linebackers, but... There's just not enough there for you to think that they're making enough of a run. But for them, it's building something. They haven't been in the playoffs for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
AFC North, look, I'm a diehard Steelers fan, but I think at best this year they're getting a wild card spot.
See, the thing with the AFC North is I think only the division winner is going to come out of that, because I just think that the teams are so close in how they play that they're going to end up still bunched up at the end of the season, and you might get like a 10-6 or 9-7 winner of that division.
But I don't know, because it all comes to the AFC South. If you look at it, because there's 2 wildcard teams. If I give one to San Diego, if you're telling me that like only one AFC North team goes to the playoffs, that means that the other team probably is coming from the AFC South.
Yeah.
You think that the Titans are going to be strong enough to like make it the full season and be good enough to make the playoffs again?
Well,
after seeing what they were like last year and knowing they didn't really
like,
make a lot of moves.
Yeah, but like but I'm just saying, like, if the AFC South ends up to where the Jags go like, I don't know, 12-4 or 11-5, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Titans get in at like 10-6, right? Because if the AFC North ends up where the teams are still packed together at the end of the season, like, you might have a 9-7 division winner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I got to see more Titans to be convinced that they're going to be a playoff team, because they beat the Eagles in overtime, but they've also lost to some ugly games.
Yeah.
So.
But I'm just saying, like, I can see the wild card spot going to either of those divisions, but I think it more depends on how all of the teams in the North play, and if they're still playing consistent with the rest of the division towards the end of the season. That's all I'm saying.
But like you said, consistency. You have to show me a Titans team that can consistently do it for me to believe that they're the team that makes a wild card before an AFC North team.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because I'll die on this hill, or not. I won't cement that I'll die on this hill. I may backtrack it, but I'm willing to bet that a Ravens or a Steelers figures it out in the second half of the season way more likely than a Titans team does.
Fair enough. I mean, I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, just off of historical trends.
I'm just saying, like, as long as if we see one of the North teams just collapse, which is completely possible, but I just don't see it happening now.
Right.
Then you're gonna
more
see
of a sample size,
more of a like separation, in which then you'll have again a top heavy team with a team that will be able to get the wild card spot.
Yeah, look, my fan bias just doesn't want us to miss the playoffs. And if we do, we better be at least 9-7, or not 9-7, 9-6-1.
Yeah, you can't be 9-7.
I knew you were gonna get me on that shit too. I knew you were coming at me with the they tied one. Switch voices on you. I know how you do it. All right, but let's get to the NFC. So, wait, no, I haven't given my AFC South prediction yet.
Yeah.
We went down a rabbit hole. Yeah, it's the Jaguars. I mean, unless they suffer more substantial injuries, I think the Fournette thing slows them down like half a step. It doesn't slow them down enough to like lose a division.
All right,
but if they get some defensive injuries, that's where things get a little iffy.
Yeah. So before we move on to NFC, AFC, maybe like a sleeper team who could maybe barely miss the playoffs, but take a few games to change somebody else's scores, or maybe a team that will get in low that might make some noise in the playoffs, but not make it all the way.
I think that the team that plays spoiler, I think you know, and we just recapped the scenario in the AFC North perfectly. I think it might be the Browns.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say the Browns can play spoiler. I'm good with that.
Because with that division being as thick of a race as it is, whoever doesn't make the playoffs probably is the big spoiler who kept somebody else. It's like, I'm taking someone with me if I'm not going.
Yeah. So, and my thing was, whatever team comes from that division, I don't think they're making the Super Bowl, but I think they can go to this, like, go 2 rounds and ruin somebody else's day.
Yeah. Make it to the AFC Championship game. Make it a tough one.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Wait, no, I gave my 2 buys to the Patriots and the Chiefs. Never mind.
Yeah, I gave my 2 buys to the Patriots and the Chiefs also.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that the AFC North gets a 3 seed. Or no, I'm retract that. I'm going to say they get the 4 seed.
They get the 4 and maybe a wild card.
Because the Jaguars are going to have that thing won, but just not to a point where Chiefs or Patriots have a lesser record.
Yeah,
it's tough because the Jaguars are a team that could have a bye any other year, but if it wasn't for Kansas City's hot start.
Yeah, I mean, I see them losing a couple games, but I don't see them losing enough to where the Jaguars, catch.
Right. It's that 2-game deficit already.
Yeah.
And as the season wears on, losses are going to become more common for these playoff teams, and that's why losing now hurts even more. Mm-hmm. You put yourself behind. All right, so let's go NFC now.
So NFC, we got a bunch of teams all together.
Let's start with another crapshoot, why don't we?
Yeah, literally
Absolute
a crapshoot.
Dumpster fire.
How? I don't understand. No team is doing good. Your top team in the league is 500. Even if the Eagles win today, the top team is 500.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Man, I hate to say this, but if you look at the points for and against for these teams, look how
they're all except the Eagles.
Look how they change. It goes from the Redskins give up only 87 points in 4 games so far,
but they've only got.
But the Giants gave up 128, and these teams are not far away from each other in the standings. The difference is 50-some points or 41 points.
41, yeah.
41 points. That's losing to New Orleans again. That's that kind of difference. And damn, to think that all these teams have a shot. That's crazy. But
I don't think all the teams have a shot. I think the 3 teams at the top have a shot, especially with how the Giants are playing right now.
But we know that the Giants are a building project. I think the only question left is when are they going to draft their next quarterback? Because Eli's playing he's playing he's obviously going to be the starter, but he's not doing anything to make a name for himself anymore. You don't hear about good or bad Eli anymore. You just hear about OBJ.
Yep, and Saquon Barkley.
But, Saquon Barkley is the good distraction. OBJ is the bad one.
I'll take a good distraction any day as a Giants fan.
I'm thinking Saquon Barkley would be the good dude. Just plenty of off-the-field volunteer work, on the field just becoming a leader and the dude you build around. I don't see Saquon Barkley being troublesome in any aspect.
To be fair, I think OBJ cleaned up.
Why? Because he kept Sterling Shepard from fighting a trash can? All jokes aside, I will say this. It's a step in the right direction for OBJ to hold him back from truly letting his his emotions get the best of him. To hold back Shepard from doing something really, really stupid. Yeah. It was something. But then, you can't do the crap where, you just throw the whole team under the bus because you're not getting the ball enough. You're a wide receiver because you put your life's work in to be a wide receiver. Don't complain that there's other people on the field getting the ball more. It's this is how the passing game works. They kind of throw options out there.
Yeah. All right, moving on from the crapshoot.
Did you pick a winner for the East?
Dude, that can go anywhere. At this point, give it to the. I don't know. I don't know about the Redskins. They don't score enough. See, that's the problem, in my opinion.
I'll give you a take on who I think. I don't want it to be in historical data will prove and historical trends will prove that teams don't normally win the division back-to-back years unless you're like the Patriots and you're in a soft division like the AFC East. But the thing is looking at the Eagles, they've only given up one more point than they've scored. So looking at the differences in these teams, you'd have to think that the Eagles have the best shot because they're playing close to their opponents. They're in the games that they've lost.
I mean, I don't know that. I mean, I think the Redskins can. I mean, they have basically all the range. They've only played 4. Eagles are playing their 6th right now. So they have 2 games to make up on the Eagles after today.
I just don't see the Cowboys having the quarterback because he's a game manager. Dak is he's a game manager. He's not a good quarterback. He's a placeholder, and I don't see them having the defense to like make a run at it. But you can't tell me that the Redskins can hold their ground either.
No,
so I'm looking for somebody
in the driver's seat. They have 2 games of
but
the
I'm
Eagles.
looking for somebody who can make any kind of run. And I understand that making a run in the NFC East is a very different meaning than other divisions.
Yeah, like especially at this point, like it's going to be so close. Like I see only one team getting to the playoffs from this division anyway, and it's whoever wins.
Yeah, I think it's the Eagles who are going to take that division.
Right.
I mean, and to be fair, the Giants not a good team, but 24-6 halftime lead, kind of gives them a little bit of a maybe kind of thing.
Oh no, like the Giants are out. Like, come on.
I'm looking for that streak for any of these teams, which. A streak may be like 3 games won. It may not be like a 6-game winning streak.
Dude, a streak is basically 2 games won at this point. Like,
well, that's the definition of a streak, but
like, no, I'm just saying for the entire season for this division, you might your longest streak might be 2 games won.
It could very well be. I was only looking for like a 3-game, but anyway, I'm sticking with the Eagles for now. I don't.
Fair enough. All right,
I think it's going to be the less beaten horse at the end of the finish line.
Anyway, so the West, the Rams got it. The rest of their division is like meh.
Yeah, I mean, we thought the 49ers, after all the moves they made, may be able to hang, but then that whole Garoppolo thing didn't really go well.
Kind of just.
And the McKinnon thing didn't work out. I mean, they're getting good work out of Beretta, and Alfred Morris is doing okay, but they just don't have the pieces otherwise to contend on offense.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think there's much else to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, not that their defense was amazing, but they can't win a shootout game with their offense now.
Mm-hmm.
Or otherwise they might be in it, but the Seahawks suck. They just happen to be beneficiaries of 2 games against like bad teams or teams that just had an off day. NFC North.
Bears. I think Bears are going to take it. Even if the Packers pick it up, I don't see them.
Even if the Packers work their magic.
I don't see them winning the division. Like maybe get a wild card spot, but division-wise, I don't think so.
Yeah, and we talked about this before the show. I think the Packers, they don't normally they had like a better running back option for when they made those previous runs, whether they had like an Eddie Lacy or a Ryan Grant or a better running back who was like maybe injured but came back in the later part of the season, who you knew was the number 1 on their depth chart. When they made their runs and make the postseason, they don't have that this year. They got Ty Montgomery, the formerly converted from wide receiver to running back, and a bunch of other guys that have moments but aren't consistent enough. So it's like that with a defense that doesn't really do anything, and an offensive line that doesn't. Aaron Rodgers had a horrible game last weekend, so I just don't think that there's enough there in their tank to support that they're going to make a run.
Yep.
I think, if anything, they're probably going to suffer more injuries. And not to say that Aaron Rodgers is going to get hurt, but you never know with him. There's been times.
Mm-hmm.
And wasn't it last year they'd missed the playoffs? He tried to come back and something just wasn't right, and they ended up shutting him back down.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think they lost to the Panthers, and then they were mathematically eliminated, and they put him back on IR. But speaking of which, NFC South.
I think the Saints got it. I just don't see the Panthers, even though they're 3-1 right now, I just don't see them being consistently winning to win the division.
Makes sense to me. Oh yeah,
and
the Falcons
are basically out.
The Falcons, they're done. There's just too many injuries. I know their defense wasn't great to begin with, but to have your best linebacker and your starting 2 safeties gone for the year, that opens up a lot of field to just absolutely penetrate. Case in point, last weekend. Jeez, 41-17.
All right, but we went through division winners. What about wild card spots?
Well, I was hoping you'd give that, and then we were going.
Well, so I say the Packers can get a wild card spot. I just don't see them being good enough to win the division, but I do think one of the wild card spots can come from the North.
Yeah, it's just not coming from the East.
Yeah, the only place where it's definitely not coming is the East. And then, I don't know. It depends on how the Seahawks hold up.
Mm-hmm. No, it doesn't. The Seahawks are not making the playoffs.
Because then, if the Seahawks aren't holding up, right, then they're basically the only shot the West has at getting a wild card spot. So then you're looking at the North and South to take the wild card spots. So I'm looking at maybe the Packers from the North and the Panthers from the South.
Yeah. So let's go through your 2 teams I have a bye. You said the Rams and Bears?
And Bears.
Or
Rams and Saints.
Yeah, Rams. I was about to say, or did you want to change that? And then I assume you got the Bears as your 3 then?
Yeah, Bears are 3. And
NFC East winner at the 4?
Yeah.
All right, and then we got wild card teams of the Packers and Panthers.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go that you got your Rams at the 1. I'm going to say that the Bears... You know what? I'm going to be bold. I'm going to put the Bears at 2. Just because I think that the NFC South is a little tighter. I think that you'll get the Panthers and Saints battling a little bit more. I think that you get the Saints at 3. I think at 4 you get the Eagles. And then in wild cards, I'm going to say the Vikings.
Okay,
I think they got the better defense. I think they got a better chance. And nothing says wild card at best like a Kirk Cousins-led offense.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
I mean, it's definitely not a division winner thing. And I'm going to go Panthers as the other wild card.
Okay.
Just because if you're a Panthers fan, this is a great year for you because there's just not a lot of other options to make a wild card out in the NFC.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you basically are in contention with 2 other teams.
Yeah. All right, so what about Super Bowl prediction for this early in the season? Who are your 2 teams you're looking at in the Super Bowl this early?
I'd love for the Patriots to not make it, and that's the team that I root for every year, is just the Patriots to not represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. In fact, I'm really hoping that the AFC Pro Bowl team takes a spot in the Super Bowl. Although a Patriots player will finally make that team too. Watch my luck. I would like for it to be a team like the Chiefs, but historically an Andy Reid team just finds a way to falter at some point. So you never know. So I think that it has to be the Patriots. But the Jaguars did come close last year. if the Jaguars learn from their mistakes and play that flawless game, I think it could be the Jaguars, but I think, unfortunately, it's the Patriots. I'm just hoping that this one is the one that makes Brady and Belichick retire.
Who's the NFC team?
So, I told you before the show, I'm going bold takes. I think it's the Bears. I think that defense is just something electric. And I think the Rams have a really good defense, too.
Okay.
But I don't know that the Rams swarm the ball quite like the Bears do. Now, I've only seen that... I mean, look what they did against Tampa when Fitzmagic was still kind of magic.
Mm-hmm.
And not to take any... I mean, probably can't take a lot away from Seattle, but when they played Seattle, was it Monday night?
Mm-hmm.
They got some fast, athletic front seven defensive linemen. They all just are ball swarmers, and it's something to watch. It makes you think what the defense could be like remembered as 10 years from now. So
fair enough. All right, so for my take, though, like I told you before we aired, I'm going with Chiefs against the Saints in the Super Bowl. That's my hot take.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this is the
showdown.
year.
No defense matters.
No defense matters. Just sling the ball.
Yeah. And we were saying before the show, or I was saying, that's the kind of matchup that is going to be so high scoring that it's just bound to end with a game-winning pick six. And I'm sticking with that, too. It's just going to be that one slip-up will change everything.
Yeah.
It would be a fascinating matchup to watch. It definitely wouldn't be boring.
Oh, yeah, but that's the thing, right? It's like Patriots make it every year. I'm saying this is the year they don't. Like, it's the Chiefs, I think.
I'm hoping you're right. That kind of matchup, though, would kill a fan of one of those teams, though. Those fan bases might lose 20% of their following. Just a back and forth game like that.
Dude,
it might actually do it.
All right, we'll see.
And then everybody else will show up for the parade, and unlike in Philadelphia, they won't eat poop or stuff like that off the ground. It happened. It legitimately happened.
I mean, I live near Philadelphia. You don't think I know this?
I mean, I was hoping that, they put up one of those domes around New Jersey where, nothing else gets in. Keep all the New Jersey people in one spot, and they keep all the Philadelphia people out. I think it's a pretty fair trade-off.
Oh, boy.
All right,
so let's hit up MLB now. They're in the playoffs, so let's go.
I see what you did there. Wordplay.
So let's go from predicting to analyzing it.
Mm-hmm.
So currently in the playoffs, right? Houston won their series against Cleveland.
Yep.
And Boston beat the Yankees in 4. The Brewers beat the Rockies, who won their wild card game, and LA beat the Brewers.
Braves.
Or the Braves, sorry. Yeah. So, I want to start by talking about the Yankees. So they put up a good showing in the wild card game, I think.
Mm-hmm. What was the score of that? That was wasn't that game it played closer than what the score indicated?
Yeah, I think so.
What was the final score on that one?
I don't have it on the top of my head, but I can get it for you.
All I remember is the Yankees had the lead.
They basically led the
obviously they had the lead at some point, but I think early and throughout the game they had the lead. I don't think they ever gave it up.
First inning they took the lead, right? Yeah. So I mean, the thing is, the Athletics, they used a lot of pitchers.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't surprise me. They have a lot of relief pitchers on their staff, even in the starters.
But I mean, the starter went 1 inning. Then they used a reliever for 3, another reliever for 1, another reliever who didn't actually get anybody out.
So they played it like it was the All-Star game. It's they just played all the situational matchups and then didn't care about the outcome.
So they used, what is that, 6 pitchers.
That's way too many.
In the wild card game.
I mean, I guess if you're going to put it all on the line, but...
Yeah, but like most of them had over 1 inning pitched. Or 1 inning pitched, right? And they're pretty long innings considering the Yankees were hitting pretty good.
Did they throw multiple starters in there?
I don't think so.
Because... They had, Brett Anderson, they had Trevor Cahill on the team. Like, those are guys who have played both spots in the bullpen and starting.
I mean, they started Hendricks, right? Then they had Trevino, Kelly, Rodney, Treinen, I can never pronounce his name, and Familia.
Fernando Rodney?
Yeah.
They threw him in before the end of the game.
Yeah. He's the one that didn't didn't get anybody out.
Well, yeah, I mean,
he gave up.
If you're a baseball team, you got to know Fernando Rodney only has one specialty. It's at the end of the game, or maybe setup man. But
he gave up 2 runs on 2 hits and nobody out.
Yeah, because Fernando Rodney doesn't belong in the game besides the 8th or 9th inning.
Yeah, so I mean. I don't think they managed their pen correctly after they had to.
I think they just threw a lefty in at this point, mix it with a righty at this point, and season until done. And they seasoned themselves real good. Because they were burnt to a crisp.
Yeah, but I mean, so the Yankees played pretty well in that game, I think. And then they kind of just sunk against the Red Sox. They had close games aside from the damn 16-1 game that we don't talk about.
You mean the end? The end of the game 4?
No, game 3.
Okay.
Game 3 they lost really bad, but
game 4 wasn't much better.
No, they only lost by 1. They almost came back.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, they lost 4-3 game 4. So I mean, the game wasn't bad.
Yeah, I got confused between Game 3 and Game 4. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, so, I mean, because Game 1 was a 1-run game. Game 2, the Yankees won by 4. Game 3, the Red Sox blew them out. And Game 4 was a 1-run game. So this series was pretty close, aside from the 2 games in the middle.
Right. It was just who survived the close game.
Yeah, the Red Sox just had those leads the Yankees had to come back from, and they couldn't.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. We said this going in. The Yankees didn't have the pitching depth that the Red Sox had. Mm-hmm. And it kind of proved to fruition. And, I mean, you're a Yankees fan. How much were you behind the "We Want Boston" chant when you guys beat the Athletics? Or was that a little bit of an aggressive move?
I mean, you're only gonna get Boston, so why the heck are you chanting it?
Well, I think they meant we can take Boston, but
I don't think they're wrong though. I think the Yankees showed pretty damn good games against Boston. Again, there was that Game 3 that was just one game where they just stumbled a lot, but the rest of the games, the Yankees won by 4, and then there were only 1-run games and a best-of-5 series. Even though that went 4, that could have easily gone 5.
All right. Okay, but
I mean, so from an outsider looking in, right? Why are you chanting "We Want Boston"? It's the only team you're gonna get, and
right.
I mean,
it's not if this team wins and they play that team.
Yeah, and sure, I do think see, the series was good, and the Yankees if those two teams played against each other, the 2 of those games were a 50-50 basically at the end of the game. A 1-run game, so they could take it. It's just they didn't, right?
Right. Just got the shorter end of the stick. Yeah. But okay, let me ask you this: Game 2 was in Boston, right?
Yeah.
So as a fan, how big of a win did you think that was when the Yankees got it? Did you think that was the turnaround? Did you think there's no way we're dropping both at home?
No, I didn't. I mean, I didn't think we were dropping both at home, but I wouldn't say that was a turnaround.
So you thought that it was going back to Boston for a Game 5?
Yeah, I thought that it was easily going to go back.
Well, not just saying it to get your opinion, not trying to make a joke about it. Just wanted to see where your head was at, because I know you are one of those fans that like brings the realistic part of it, the equation into it too. Whereas a lot of other fans just are like, oh, it's over because they won one fucking game in Boston.
No, I mean the games were close, right? So my rationale going into this, like, Game 1 was really close. It was a 1-run game. Game 2, sure, we won by 4, but it's one game. It means nothing. It means how do you bounce back in Game 3, right? And so I thought we should have taken one of those games, and we could have taken both. But I mean, I think I just didn't see it happening in most cases. So I was expecting it to go back to Boston for a Game 5.
Okay.
And then we got absolutely demolished in Game 3. And then, again, we were close. We could have if we just, came back Game 4. But
yeah, that Game 3 ended up being the kill shot. I think it was just enough to, like, take away and bring in some demoralized locker room presence. Just enough to, like, affect it in Game 4. Because if that was a close Game 3, you never know. You have a little bit of a different energy going into Game 4. Like, oh, we were only one swing away. And, an ass-whooping takes place instead. And all of a sudden, you feel like you're playing from behind again going into the Game 4.
Yep.
All right, so let's go. I mean, we said what we need to about the Astros. They're just one of the best teams, balanced.
Yeah.
The biggest problem the Astros had was they had to play during the day. Like, really, that's all that there was. The Indians never really had the spark.
There's nothing going on for them.
The Indians benefited from being in a really bad division, and they coasted the whole way through the season. But then they had to play all the teams that won divisions. And
I don't think that, like, kudos to them for making the playoffs, but, like, they had to play the Astros.
Yeah, they had the easiest path.
They just outclassed them.
They had the easiest path to the playoffs and then the hardest path to the World Series.
Yeah, like, they had to play the Astros, and the Astros just outclassed
Stop
them.
on a dime and switch it up. Not everybody can do it. All right. NL.
So, you want to talk wildcard game for NL?
Yeah. I mean,
Cubs, Rockies?
I didn't get a chance to watch it. I probably would have fallen asleep during it, given how low scoring that one was. But the thing is, you had the Game 163 that the Cubs lost, and ended up falling into the wild card spot. They hadn't been winning a lot of games. They had like a long time to seal and clinch a spot in the playoffs. Excuse me. And we're losing a lot of games going into it. So they were stumbling. The Rockies were, they played the wild card because of, the Dodgers just got that inch closer and won the division. So the Rockies weren't, like, stumbling as bad as the Cubs were. The Rockies probably were just really happy to be in. But the Cubs, they're in that, like, championship window where, like, every year they're supposed to be a contender.
Yep.
That was a really bad way to come into the scene, and they just didn't get it done. They're a team that has the potential in offensive firepower, and it just, as it did in the last week of the season, it just didn't come to play.
Yeah.
Everything gave out, and it just, the pitching did pretty well in the wild card game. A 2-1 game, both pitching staffs did really well.
The pitching
that game went 13 innings. So
them losing, like, giving up 2 runs, like, that's more normal. Like, that's not too many to ask your team to generate on offense.
Yeah, it's not too much to ask for 3 when you only give up 2.
it's not like the A's giving up 7. Like
Right, exactly. Like, John Lester gave his team a chance.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
The team just didn't give it back to him.
Yep.
And, I mean,
All right, so
that game was in Colorado, right? So that, I mean...
The game was... Yeah, I think so. The game was in Chicago.
Oh,
right?
Wow.
Because they had the better record.
Okay.
Yeah, Chicago had a better record, so
Still,
the game should have been there.
It's a shallow ballpark. That game could have easily had more runs to it.
Yeah.
But just didn't happen that way. So then the Rockies moved on, and that's where their narrative stopped because they didn't win another game. The Brewers look like an absolute powerhouse. They give up 2 runs in the series.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what you're expecting, but I really saw the Brewers winning versus either team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just historically speaking, when I see the Brewers in my mind making the playoffs, I don't see the Brewers necessarily making it to the World Series. Just because back in the Prince Fielder days and stuff like that, they had the most complete teams and they didn't make it to the World Series. Until it happens, it's one of those things where for me it's plausible that it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, now they got the Dodgers off.
But I think that, like, people underestimate the impact that the one-game wild card has on how a team performs in the next round. Because it really does throw off, like, your rotation and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And that means a lot, right? Pitching matchups are a thing still.
Yeah, absolutely. And getting
you
on
saw it in the
rest,
wild card game, right? A
Yeah.
2-1 game decided it. Like,
yeah,
that's down to the pitching matchup, and it's not Lester's or the Chicago bullpen's fault of anything in that game. It's just the other pitching matchup, but the other pitchers were just more on point.
Yeah, and days of rest do matter too.
Yeah, so like
when you have the game 163 and the wild card game, now you never know. You might be throwing a number 3 pitcher into the mix against their ace.
Yeah, so I mean, I just didn't see the winner of that game doing too much against the Brewers. I mean, now the Brewers will be against the Dodgers and have an actual challenge, but I just thought that was more of a free pass to the Brewers.
So where do you think that we go now? I mean, the Braves, they didn't really... The Braves are the up-and-coming team. Winning
a game in that series...
That's huge for them. It's
good
a building
on them.
block.
That's good on them. Great.
We didn't think that they were going to be there, and, they got something out of it. But now we got the Brewers and the Dodgers, the Red Sox and the Astros. What do you think is next? What happens in the AL and NLCS?
So, I'm going to go with the NLCS. I do think the Dodgers take it. So, they're going to be in... I think the NLCS will go about 6 games at least. I do think that series will be close. But as for the ALCS, I'm not sure who I favor in that series, even though the Red Sox did have the best record, if I'm not mistaken. I kind of like the Astros. That could be the bias of me being a Yankees fan, but I'm going to say the Astros take it in a close series of 7 games.
Yeah, that's weird because I was going to say the exact same thing. I think exactly. I think that the Dodgers got too much for the Brewers, and I think that Houston just has too much firepower right now to not beat the Red Sox. I mean, I think it'll be a tougher series than the Indian series was for Houston, obviously, but I think that Houston still has it.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm kind of surprised that we agree so much on these.
I mean, we only have 4 teams to choose from.
Yeah. But I mean, I do think
it's not like the NFL where we have to run through everybody.
Yeah, but I do think the series, both sides are going to be close, because I do think they're probably the 2 best teams from each.
I mean, basically, I think that the Dodgers have an advantage on the NL side. Just more experience with their talented roster, whereas the Brewers don't have that experience. But I think on the AL side, it's a pick-em. I think it's a toss-up, and either way you go, people would be like, yeah, I see it.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I think that wraps up our MLB playoffs talk.
Yeah. Now to hockey.
So, I mean,
we're going seasonal.
We're only a couple of games in for most teams, and already got some injury suspensions, and let's get straight into it. So, so Wilson has his 20-game suspension. He obviously appealed it, so we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I mean, how much could it possibly get reduced, though? Because he's a repeat offender.
But, so I think, and a lot of people are saying this, that the NHL was like, we want to give him 10 games or maybe a little bit more, but we know he's going to appeal it. So let's highball it so then the arbitrator doesn't, go down from maybe 12 to 6 or 8 instead of now he'll go from 20 to 14.
You get from 20 to 10.
Yeah.
Okay. Just enough to make an impact still.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I'm thinking maybe you knock it down to a 13.
Yeah, I'm looking at the 12 to 14 game range, like I was saying.
Yeah, because I'm obviously a Capitals hater because I'm a Penguins fan. But I think you got to, after a number of infractions, regardless of if they were borderline or not,
just remember,
you got to give the guy enough games where it's where you've accounted for each infraction. Also, in addition to the fact that he did it again.
Just remember Zach Aston.
So the fact that he did it again was 10 games, and then all those other infractions add up, fractional point kind of way, and they just kind of sum up to 13, something like that. But you also have to leave in, it has to make enough of a mark that you try to get him to not do it again.
I mean, I'm of the opinion that the NHL needs to, I actually like what they're doing when they explain these longer suspensions, but sometimes the numbers just don't make sense. Be a little bit more clear on how and why you're choosing some of these numbers, even at the lower end, so that when we get to the higher end, people aren't like, oh, why is it this number instead of this number, even though you're explaining why it accumulated to some number like this. Aside from that, I do think they did a good job with explaining why they're giving this many games. And, oh, by the way, for Penguins fans, just remember Zach Aston Reese in the playoffs. Got hit by Tom Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and aside from that, injury news, right? Devils had the young Swedish forward who couldn't play in their opener in Sweden because he got hit in the jaw, and we were forced to sign Drew Stafford.
Sorry, can you run that back one more time? Your mic went a little.
Yeah, so the Devils, they had to sign Drew Stafford because their Swedish second-year player got broken jaw in practice.
Jeez.
Yeah, so he's out for a while. Corey's still on the IR. For the Penguins, Murray got another
Matt Murray
concussion.
got his 7th or 8th concussion.
Yeah, not looking good for him.
I don't understand how he gets a concussion this often. For real. I obviously understand that Sid Crosby plays a different position that requires more skating. But Crosby's first concussion took him a year and a half to get back from. Matt Murray just sticks around and keeps getting concussions, and it's he's day-to-day every time. It's really...
Well,
it makes me think that this one is a little...
But
I mean, oh, come on. It happened after he gave up 6 goals in and 5 goals in the first 2 games.
Yeah, but I don't.
And now he's hurt.
Like, I don't think you can really count like goals against in the first couple of games. I think you got to let it level out because like defenses haven't really worked fully together, and you've been off for a while, and so like as a goalie, you don't have like your full strength ahead of you like you would 20, 25 games into the season, right?
I guess, but I guess.
I
but
mean,
I think
why else would
just
Carolina score 8 goals?
I don't know, man, but look, I think that teams are very much well aware that Matt Murray's glove hand is not good. And I think they're just attacking it. They go high glove, and he I don't know, I think I was telling a couple friends, it looks like Matt Murray stuffs bricks in his left sleeve. And, like, he just can't bring that arm up fast enough to, like, grab the puck. I don't know why. The dude, like, trains rigorously in the off-season, according to what reporters will say, and yet the guy can't fix this glove hand.
Yep.
So it makes me think, like, is he the franchise option?
I mean,
for now, he's the best that we got, but I don't know long-term anymore.
But, I mean, goalies do take, like, as far as long-term wise, don't you guys have somebody in AHL who's pretty good?
I mean, we've always had someone in AHL who is, like, bound to be a stud, at least backup, but the thing is like,
you don't really...
Tristan Jarry and Casey DeSmith were both those guys at one point, and they're both, like, okay at best in the NHL now that they're playing.
I mean, I think Matt Murray's still good enough where you can run a 1A, 1B type system.
Yeah, like I said, I think he's the best that we have right now.
Yeah, but, like, I would say run, like, a 1A, 1B type system so you get your backup and a more experience so you can actually decide, are you going to go with DeSmith or maybe you're going to give Tristan Jarry?
Yeah. I think that was kind of what they were trying to do with Antti Niemi last year. That obviously didn't work.
Oh, God. But let's not talk about Antti Niemi.
Yeah. Thoughts and prayers to that man's career. Can't believe he won a cup.
Yeah. But, like, yeah, I mean, aside from that, like, I think the season...
Penguins got to play better defense for sure.
Yeah, but I do think it'll take time for the teams to fully mesh. Like, you won't really see real good action, like, good games until, like, quarter way through the season.
Okay. I'll take your word for that.
Yeah, but, like, because if you look at it, right, like, Toronto is, like, scoring like no tomorrow. They got, like, 2 players in the top 3 right now, with Matthews having, like, consecutive multi-point games. I think he has multi-point games in each of the first 5 or something like that, which is, like, unheard of.
Yeah, I mean, dude's a stud. Need nothing else be said.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, 4 teams played their second game today. Most other teams are on game 4, and Toronto and Vegas have played game 5 today. So, like...
It's crazy how the NHL, like, moves at different rates.
Yeah, but, like, I understand Edmonton and New Jersey, considering they played their first game on Sunday in Sweden. Mm-hmm. So they had to get back to the United States.
Yeah, and get over a little bit of jet lag, too.
Yeah. But, like, why the heck was Tampa Bay and Florida on game 2 when they played their first game against each other in Florida?
Yeah, it's weird.
What is the NHL doing?
Yeah, and it's not like any of it had to do with Hurricane Michael either.
I mean...
Like, they didn't postpone any games, did they?
No games were postponed. It's just that they didn't schedule them.
Yeah, that's really weird.
Like, again, the Panthers were playing the Blue Jackets today, right? They were playing in Florida.
Which is weird, because a couple of days ago, they had a couple of NHL games going on, like, in the middle of the day, in the middle of the work week.
Yeah.
That would have been a great time to have a Panthers game.
I mean, they don't get enough people when the games are at perfect time
the Florida joke writes itself there.
Oh, boy. Yeah, and like, I just don't understand why like that happened, right?
Yeah.
Other notable thing is Vegas is off to a pretty iffy start. I think they're 1-4.
Well, yeah, I'm giving Vegas a little bit more time because they had the signings that were pretty notable in the offseason. Not everybody meshes together all at once. Last year they had the like, hey, we were the guys who were like the misfits. We band together.
Yeah, but
this year it's a little different.
But my thing is, right? They lost 5-2, 5-2, and 5-2 twice, and 4-2 twice, right? And the only win they have is 2-1. So even then, they're in a high-scoring beginning of the season. They're not generating goals when they really should be. Like,
yeah,
I understand
maybe too much unselfish play.
But I understand, like, losing a high-scoring game. Like, the Rangers lost 8-5. They still scored 5 goals, right? But, like, when everybody's scoring this much, like, not getting that third goal in any game is kind of disappointing.
Yeah, the third goal makes or breaks a lot of wins as the season goes on.
Not only that, like, depending on who gets that goal, it jumpstarts the rest, like, scoring and their like assists for the rest of the season. Like, if they can get one early, it fires them up. So I mean, that's just my takeaway from the beginning of the season for them is they aren't generating the offense they need to this early in the season because it's just going to go down as the season goes on and goalies get more into groove, defense pairings are more in sync with each other, like penalties are going to go down and all that. So, like, what are they waiting for is my question.
Yeah, now's the time to get hot and show what your potential is and then really kind of focus on it and make it your strength as the season goes on and the goaltenders kind of find their groove.
Yeah. So yeah, again, the only thing I have from aside from that is the huge amount of goals that have been at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, it's wild how many goals are being given up. But like you said, you know, there's that window where it's acceptable.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
everybody's coming back.
Matthews has 9 goals already. Like, come on, he's played like 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, I mean, Matthews is just a freak. Like in his debut, he had 4 goals.
Yeah.
So. We not to take anything away from Matthews, but I'd be looking for a role player who had a few more goals before I considered this too unusual. Give me like a second line winger who had like 8 or 9 goals, and then I'd be like, okay, you know, that might be a little bit weird.
You know, but to be fair, going into the season, I was wondering how Tavares and Matthews would play and if they'd play on the same line. Which it looks like they are, and they're both doing amazingly. But I'm really worried that they're kind of top loading, even though the Toronto Maple Leafs
they're not balancing it enough.
Yeah, like I'm worried that they're not balancing enough for later in the season. I think they still have time to try those, but like you're worried about getting into like an Edmonton situation where your top line of like McDavid, Lucic, and Draisaitl are your only scoring option.
Well, maybe what's going on is they just are looking to see what kind of depth options they have. Like, if they do this, then they got players who can step in who would be scratches later on in the season. But right now, you know, you see what you have in terms of what they're capable of, and then you slide Tavares back into his natural position. Matthews, whichever line you want to put one of them on and the other on a different one, and then you kind of work with that and see which meshes best.
Fair enough. But I mean, I'm
over
okay
the course
with
of an 82 game season, I don't think that that line is going to stay together.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be injuries. Something's going to happen where those are going to mix up.
Yeah, but like, I mean, for now, I'm okay with them being together because, as I said, right, this is a time when nobody's fully in sync yet. So having them together, maybe having them together to get their season going, like I was saying for other teams like Vegas.
Let's them get hot and get out in front.
And then like maybe look at changing the lines up so you don't just stack your first line.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Yeah, you have anything else you want to talk about hockey related before we get to what you want to talk about?
No, I really don't. I think that it's kind of incredible that the Hurricanes have a winning record. I don't think it's going to last though.
Buffalo has a winning record too, or had a winning record before today.
Yeah. But the Hurricanes are an old team.
Yeah, but I mean Buffalo, that was their first winning record in like 4 seasons.
Yeah.
So
500 record, I think, too.
No, well, winning record was a definite. So.
Yeah. I mean, if they build it right, then we'll forget all about that in the future.
I think they have all the pieces.
Yeah. Makes sense to me. I just don't, it all depends on how quickly it comes together.
Yeah.
All right, so anything else that you want to cover?
Not NHL-wise.
All right, so let's get into the real thing here. We now have courtesy of Ben Stonium, and yes, it is a Pittsburgh fan page, but this dude has he created a Tom Brady Cialis viral video. He's created a lot of viral videos making fun of other teams. He has a post game locker room picture of Bartolo Colon, what's really just like a gigantic blob from Star Wars. He makes really funny stuff. So the latest edition is, if you listened last week, you heard me go off on this Gritty dude, this Flyers mascot. We have Photoshops now.
Okay, to be fair, for being what Philadelphia is, they're actually embracing the thing, even though I don't think that mascot would work at any of the 30 other teams.
Yeah. Although, they put Gritty on, Late Night with Jimmy Fallon or whatever?
Yeah.
And Ricky Gervais tried to beat the crap out of Gritty. I was all for Ricky Gervais for a second there. Which is saying a lot because I don't even know what he does.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting back to what's important, we have the Gritty Photoshops now, so we're just going to run through these. So what this dude did is he just put Gritty in the most horrifying places in the backgrounds of pictures, and we're just going to recap a couple of them. So you got the mother and father giving their children breakfast in the kitchen in a nice house. You got the tall windows in the background, and wouldn't you know, Gritty's in the window just staring at children eating breakfast like an absolute pervert. Running through the next one, it looks like we got Gritty hiding behind the curtains in an abandoned ICU unit of a hospital, which I guess everybody would rather just check themselves out for whatever mental health or physical health ailments they had instead of just being there with Gritty. That sounds like its own, what does this look like blot chart kind of thing. And every answer is just a monster. We got this mother holding her very young baby in a park, just laying in the grass. Gritty's in the background sitting on a bench, staring with his googly eyes open. That's not creepy. And finally we got a father holding his son in hand, walking down the beach, and there's Gritty wearing a flamingo float around his waist, standing in the middle of the sand,
just looking,
not even giving these guys a lane, staring. How many kids does Gritty have to stare at before the police get involved? That's what I want to know.
Oh my god. Oh boy.
So if you ever hear the word grit in your local police precinct, you're in Philadelphia. That's all I have to say. I'm out here trying to warn children before, the orange monster comes out the closet. But yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah. I wonder what else is going to come out with this dang mascot.
Oh boy, I can't wait. Although I feel like it's going to become too much really quickly. Gritty's the only mascot I remember in recent history who's doing like media tours.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, but I mean that's just more fuel for the flame in most cases.
Yep. But that's all I got.
Yeah.
All right, so until next time, we'll see you soon. And we're thinking about taking this to a streaming product, I guess is what I was trying to say, but a streaming podcast. We're going to look into how we're going to do that and make it even better. So we'll see how it goes.
Yep, see it.
See ya.